Well, it's 3 p.m. We now commence with the webinar. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. When the going gets tough, the tough gets going. With the economic evolving all over again, organizations are trying to catch up with the complex circumstances and market uncertainties caused due to this pandemic. As we begin the reopening process, an organization's top priority must focus on mitigating a distressed environment, stabilize business, and create strategies to achieve operational excellence. Let's hear from our experts as they discuss different strategies to cope up with the current collateral damage due to this crisis and how companies can adapt and survive in this new normal. HRAI welcomes you all to our next HRAI session, Redesigning Working Strategies, the New Normal. Before we begin with the session, I will take few minutes, ladies and gentlemen, to run through some of the protocols while on Zoom, though many of you would be familiar. It is very important to follow these rules as in order to have an effective session. Three rules that I would like to take you through. Kindly do not record this meeting as this would be available on our social media pages. Request all of you to please keep your Zoom audio on mute and your videos on. Please use your full name as your screen name and not your device name, as it does not allow us to identify who you are. As your video is off and your name is not mentioned, we will have to move those participants to the waiting room for security reason. So please cooperate. It would be great to have all the participants' feedback. We will be running a poll before the Q&A session. Request all participants to kindly give your feedback on the session. HRAI is a non-profit organization and a body established to enable community members to explore, discuss, and understand the current scenarios. This team works primarily on getting subject matter experts together to share their knowledge and provide real-time strategic solution covering all aspects of HR and other business enabling services. I now take the privilege to introduce our esteemed panel. To begin with, our first panel member, Mr. Vikas Sheth, Country Head India, Mindstone Inc. He comes with an experience of 14 years in building real-time data analytics and omni-channel consumer experience solution for Fortune 500 clients in FMCG, hospitality, automotive, banking, electronics, and telecom sector. He has an all-round P&L general management experience in leading multicultural global teams for product services, delivery, software development, financial management, HR, customer success, and sales. He holds an MBA with a major in business strategy and marketing from IE Business School, Spain, along with BTech in computer science from Nirma Institute of Technology, India. Thank you, sir, for accepting our request and being part of the session.
My pleasure, and absolutely delighted to join all the esteemed panel members and all the HR fraternity of HRAI Association. Very, very glad to be on the call today and look forward to a very interesting and exciting session of 1 hour of discussion.
Thank you, sir. Our next panel member, Mr. Deepak Bhatia, COO, SL Global Solution. Deepak is a transformational business leader with 25 plus years of multifaceted global experience in getting up, scaling, and leading diversified businesses across multi-industries like outsourcing, BPM IT, telecom, mobile payments, retail FMCG, travel airlines, e-commerce, and industrial. He has a unique blend of experience in manufacturing services and development sectors with reputed Fortune 500 global organizations like Siemens, GE, IBM, and Infosys. He is instrumental in driving large P&L and has a history of making them profitable. He has also been leading multi-year large deals for Fortune 500 companies. He likes outdoor and enjoying traveling to explore new places. Deepak is an avid practitioner of art of living and nonviolent communication. He is an electrical engineer and a management graduate from IIM Bangalore. Thank you, sir, for accepting our request and being part of this session.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, HRAI. I think I'm glad to be here and I would like to share and hear the experiences of co-panel members.
Thank you, sir.
Look forward to an interesting session.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Now I'll introduce our panelist and moderator for today's event, Ms. Sindhu Kalyansundaram, founder, Ignite Academy. Sindhu brings in a rich experience of 15 years in management consulting across retail, banking, financial services, loyalty marketing, FMCG, IT services, having worked across India and the United Kingdom with GE, Nestle, Infosys, Cognizant, New Look Retailers, Affion International. She is the founder of Ignite Academic and Server Happiness. She helps organizations through her workshops on leadership skills, communication skills, team management, goal settings, and soft skills. She holds a postgraduate degree in marketing and information technology from SP Jain Institute of Management and Research, Mumbai. Now, without taking much time, I would now request Ms. Sindhu to take over this session. Over to you, Ms. Sindhu.
Thank you very much, Peter. Good evening. It's a pleasure to be on this panel. So good evening, Mr. Deepak. Good evening, Mr. Vikas.
Good evening, and I hope everyone is keeping well. It's a tough time out there. So I really wish you and everyone in your family is keeping well these days.
Thank you.
And Sindhu, Deepak is fine. Good evening to all.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's such a wonderful afternoon considering the environment that we are in, and we've got two panelists. So I'm looking forward to a very intellectual interaction and, of course, a lot of audience interaction as well. Redesigning working strategies seems to be the in topic today, considering the uncertainties that we've embarked in the last 3 months. 6 months prior to where we were, we never anticipated a situation like this. So maybe the goals that we set, the forecast that we did for our businesses, for our projects, were probably at a very different level. And all of a sudden, we seem to have come into a new age, a new era, where there was not even enough time for us to settle down, to actually digest and absorb what was happening around. And today's session is going to talk about how organizations have redesigned working strategies, what's worked for them, what has probably not worked, what are the challenges that people have faced, and what are the learnings we can take back to our respective organizations and empower the people around. So my first question is going to be for Deepak. What is the new normal in BFSI industry and especially yours? And what are the new working strategies that you have redesigned for your organization?
Thank you, Sindhu. And before that, I think I would actually like to set the context on what I think is a new normal and what SLK think is a new normal. And I would like to really, all of us know that this has been one of its kind problem the globe has faced. I was reading an article which said 39% of the employees have got salary cuts, around 15% got layoff, 3% of the companies are shut down. This is Economic Times report sometime back. While this is the environment, I think SLK has been really fortunate, and we have been fortunate not only because of our luck. We have actually worked towards making it happen. We believe in taking all our decisions around 4 cornerstones. We care for our employees, our clients, our community, and the organization. Last but not the least is organization. And also we have our guiding principle. We call them I bid hard. I think I will ask my team to post this on the chat window for people to understand. Basis this, on 23rd of March, we were not aware what will we do, how will we run our business. But because of the hard work and dedication and these principles, within 3 weeks, we were able to make 50% of our staff working from home. We are around 5,000 people company and around 2,500 in 3 weeks. It has been a tough journey, system availability, network availability has been a challenge, data security issues, but we made it happen. As on today, we have 97% of our staff working from either home or offices with all the due diligence and security, etc. We also, during this time, we hired around 400 plus people with 9 senior leaders in the organization. We have 250 plus positions open today. So I think what we did is exactly opposite of what some of the companies were doing, and we were rewarded with lot of new business because of that. In fact, some of our competitors or peers who closed down the shop, we came across large deals which we could have signed only in 3 to 4 months time. We signed those large deals in 15 days time. So for us, it has been a real good hard work, which has resulted into very good results for us. In fact, now that we got those results, we have not shied away from sharing them with our employees. So we have announced last half year's appraisal ratings and variable pays to be paid. We are giving them promotions and their hikes with effect from 1st of April, not 1st of July. So we have actually, with SLK, with a lot of hard work and resilience, we have actually turned this situation to our advantage. And I keep giving this example of Formula One racing. The champion drivers normally take lead in the turns, and I think COVID is proven to be a turn for us, and I think we are zooming ahead because of this. The new normal, as you asked me the question, now I will answer that question. For me, it's work from anywhere becomes a new way of life. We don't call it work from home. You can actually work from home anywhere. So today, we were constrained by the centers, 3 to 4 centers we have in India and 2 or 3 centers outside India. We were constrained that we were hiring people in those centers only, on those cities only. Today, we can hire people across the globe, and they can be working for us using work from anywhere model or remote working model. So that's obviously one of the main themes but because we are in BFSI space, data security is a big issue. And some of our clients don't permit us, despite all our security measures, they don't permit us. So we will have to have a combination of work from home or work from anywhere and work from home to make work from home a sustainable model. There are a lot of things to be done. We did it all in a hurry. We started an initiative in our organization called iWork 2.0, where we are making it, how to make it sustainable and viable and profitable. So just to highlight some of the point, infrastructure availability in India is a problem, whether it is laptops or whether it is internet. Then the next problem we have to solve to make it sustainable is productivity and delivery from the employees. It becomes a challenge sometimes, but I'm glad to inform that at SLK, our productivity in work from home is better than working from office. So then data security, communication and connection with the employees. These are 4 to 5 focus areas to make work from home a sustainable and viable model. I hope I've been able to answer your question.
Thank you, Deepak. I'm glad you said that formula racing analogy, because just last week I was having a conversation with a friend and we were talking about what can entrepreneurs learn from Formula One racers. It's about split-second decision making was the response. And I think looking at a very macro perspective, this kind of corroborates the split-second decision making that your organization went through and the kind of being agile, the mentality of being agile that's being absorbed by everyone in the organization. Thank you very much for your inputs. A similar question to Vikas. Now, you come from a very different industry, hospitality industry, where probably the challenges are quite different from BFSI, and the kind of logistics that you will have to incorporate are probably different. So a similar question to you, what is new normal and how did you all adopt the new situation and adapt to it?
I think it's a very interesting development over the last few months. We were not hit by this phenomena on March 23rd. Our major customer base is in US. So we were hit by this phenomena early in January. And like you said, our entire year planning, all the forecast, all the development roadmaps, everything went for a toss. And along the way, I think the very first realization we had was that how human life can be so fragile and so unpredictable. right? So that was the very first sort of a realization that we as a business had. We are in the business of selling happiness, right? When you talk about travel, when you talk about hospitality, the very first thing that comes to your mind is happiness. And if all are distraught by such gloomy environment outside, that dream, that outcome does never happen. So how do we tackle this scenario wherein entire world has come to a standstill? Um, I'm not sure how many of you have seen, but a Fortune 500 company, Marriott, and the CEO of Marriott, Arne Sorensen, he made a statement that this is the worst hit travel industry, sort of call it depression, or call it setback in the entire industry, even worse than your World War II. So you can imagine, uh, wherein there are clients who are, and I'll give a simple example. Um, you have got 7-star hotels, 5-star hotels, which are typically running at 70 to 80% occupancy, are now suddenly at 0 to 1% occupancy. This has never ever happened before in the entire phenomena, in the entire lifetime of the entire industry. And even I would probably go on and say that in the lifetime of human being as a modern society. So this has been a very unprecedented situation which no one could have planned for, and no one could have even anticipated, even remotely. So a very sort of a, it hit everyone, whether it was Marriott or whether it was Airbnb as a player in the market. It really hit in a very different capacity altogether. So to recover from this situation, you have to really go back to the basics and really redesign everything in your business, right from the key value proposition to your entire employee experience. Let me share my screen, and actually that will give you a little bit more perspective in terms of what I'm saying. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes,
So when we started this exercise back in January, like I said, we were hit 2 months earlier because our primary customer base is in US and few other countries around that. So there are three key focus areas we had to deal with, and very similar to I think what Deepak suggested: customer, employee, and organization infrastructure. Uh, Now the needs of the customer have changed drastically. Earlier, customers were looking for a certain amount of ROI, certain amount of returns. Now customers are looking to even see if they can be in the business or not. Um, at the same time, on employee front, the very first focus was employee safety, and how can we ensure that all the employees are keeping safe. Um, Now, since the needs of the customers have changed, we also have to ensure that what solutions we provide to customers, they also have to evolve. And it leads to skills upgrade. Either you upgrade your skills internally or you hire talent from outside, which will ensure that whatever the new normal is from the customer perspective, their demand perspective, that needs to be satisfied. And on the other front, on the organization infrastructure side, right from physical infrastructure like laptops and desktops and internet and so on and so forth, to processes and policies as well. We had revamped a lot of policies on the HR front as well, which really helped our employees be in the right frame of mind. And finally, the culture aspect. How do you create a culture in the organization wherein 300, 400 people are working in their 300, 400 homes? So each and every aspect of the entire organization had to be retouched and relooked at. Uh, Going a little bit more into specifics. So the very first thing we had to focus was that how do we solve the real customer problem? Customer problem has changed, right? If I have a customer who has a chain of stores across entire US for 600, 700 locations, and we are providing them technology solutions and marketing solutions, how do we change that, right? And at the same time, how do we communicate to customers? How do we align employees to the new world customer problems? How do we create that context? So that was the very first thing we had to do in our entire sort of working and the structure. What we did in response to that was we really came up with a new framework called CRG, Crisis, Recovery, and Growth, wherein we had very specific strategies and tactics which we help each and every customer, wherein what they need to do on a crisis stage. So crisis I'm defining as the stage when this was hit, early January, February, and March. Now, a lot of it is opening. Now, a lot of governments have opened up the states. Even in India, a lot of things have opened up. What should customers be doing now? Whatever solutions we used to provide, say, 6 months before are no longer applicable. So how do you create those strategies? How do you create solutions which will actually create impact for the customers? Right from the solution perspective, we have redefined all of that. And ultimately, once we come out of this phase, how do we make our customers ready for the growth that they should be expecting and getting back to normal? So each and every phase has been thought through, and aligned to this, we have made sure that each and every employee in the organization, each and every teammate is really trained well enough. Similar to this is so that was the recovery funnel for the customers. On the same front, we have created a recovery funnel for our internal employees, that how do we create culture which is aligned to my core values? How do we now shift the working paradigm in the new culture? How do we create or gain valuable skills, and finally leading to solving now customer problems, not problems of 6 months or 1 year before? And at the end of the day, how do we communicate? How do we truly care for our customers, our employees, and all our stakeholders? So combining all of this, we have come up with so many strategies. So just to give an analogy to what Deepak suggested, when we were hit in January, it was a very bad time. We were about to hire 100 odd people. We froze all of our requirements completely. From that point to now, we are hiring 3 VPs and 2 directors and a lot of other positions. So in a 6 months of time, we really turn around the entire way of working, entire way of providing solutions to the customers, and at the end of the day, providing that satisfaction to the employees. And last but not the least, what matters most at this point of time is strengthening the leadership. How do we create the growth mindset in the face of adversity? How do we make sure that now we focus on the real problems? And at the end of the day, how do we create that human to human connection via Zoom calls? Very small things like enabling videos has helped us create those human to human connections. Having virtual coffee sessions, all of those small things have come up and helped us turn around our business significantly. And at the end of the day, what matters is mindfulness, acknowledging that yes, you are vulnerable. Yes, your business can take a hit, and you have the strength and the capabilities to turn it around is more crucial than ever before. So I think this is what we have done as an organization along the way, which has really helped us turn around the entire ecosystem. When we were hit with this entire pandemic, we thought we'll lose our significant amount of business. But believe it or not, right now we're getting deals from hospitality sector. So that's what is happening on the real ground level. And it all is to do with connecting with the customer and aligning your organization and employees. So I think there has been a phenomenal ride over the last 6 months.
Wonderful.
Hey, am I audible?
Yes, you are. Am I?
Okay. I think there is an echo coming from your side, I think.
Is it okay now?
Yes.
Better. Thank you. I think the visual representation actually took us through your entire journey of the organization, the kind of platforms that you were looking at, the different levels of organization, strategy, people. A lot of thought seems to have gone into enhance each and every part of the organization. And your CRG framework definitely was very interesting, something that many of us can take back and say we can implement something very similar, both at the customer level and at the employee and organization.
Absolutely. And although I'm just referring to hospitality industry, the fact of the matter is significant of my revenue comes from banking, comes from retail, comes from automotive, a lot of other industries, and the same framework is applicable over there as well.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you very much, Vikas. It's interesting that we've got 2 people from diverse industries, one from a business transformation enterprise that works predominantly with BFSI, and then the other panelist from hospitality, which means the kind of customer experience, the kind of transactions that go in are very different. So one is extremely transactional based and the other one is extremely experience based. Like you said, you sell happiness. Yes. Which means the kind of people policies that the organizations strategize or adopt also might probably suit the kind of industry we are in, the kind of experience or the products or the services that we deliver outside. So my question for Deepak is, considering the industry you're in, you spoke about how agile your organization was, and you had to shift at least 97% of your 5,000 strong workforce today, you said, is working from home. So in a kind of industry like yours, what are the CXO's expectations from people who are from the HR fraternity? What kind of values or what kind of behavior or policies do you think people in the HR fraternity can adopt during these uncertain times?
Thanks, Sindhu. Just a small correction in what you said. 97% of the people are working from home and office together. Around 50% are working from home, okay, and remaining working from office. That's one correction. The other clarification probably I want to give is that we as an organization position ourselves and we're working towards a transformational platforms solution driven BPM company. So we are not, we do banking transactions. However, we always sell our solutions basis the products and platform based transformation story. So wanted to set that right, because what you said something. I think in my mind, while the normal expectation from HR is, if I may say, is hire to retire or employee life cycle. Also talking about equitable and fair policies for everybody, rewards and recognition, performance management system, culture, organization development, etc. This is the expectation from HR colleagues. In these tough times, all these things became super magnified. The biggest of all this focus area has been employee connection, communication, and connect. I think while we always focus on this, in these times using technology, we all ensured so one thing which started working for us was a daily beginning of the day all hands on deck meeting, where around 35 odd leaders of the company will be talking about day-to-day problems we are facing and then solve the problems there rather than writing emails to each other. We used to solve those problems there. And one of those things we were monitoring was, are we in touch with our employees? Are we talking to them? Are we communicating with them transparently? And for example, I connected with them in 9 different town halls because earlier we had a technology issue. We were thinking that teams can't do beyond 250 people. The last town hall I did was around 4,000 people. So, so we started focusing on communication very well. And that area really got activated more than any other area, while all other areas were important. The communication, consistent communication with employees, and that resulted, for example, in first week of May, we were, or last week of April, we had around 50% of the employee activated from work from home, and around 20% or 15% were working from office. And HR, along with ops, took this responsibility of employees who were not working. They started talking to each one of them individually, understanding their problems, and provided the solution. So if somebody is in containment area, we provided hotel accommodation nearby. If somebody needed a transport, we provided that. If somebody needed to work from home but their customers did not allow them to work from home. We provided them transfer to the customers who were providing work from home. So this employee sensitivity, the needs of the employees to be met, I think this was one of the biggest focus area. And now that we seem to have done reasonably well in last 3 months, we also wanted to share it with employees. As I said earlier, that we did rewards and recognition. We are giving them variable pays. We are giving them incentives, etc. So all that, HR is a big lever in making all this happen. So I think that's what I think I would expect from HR colleagues.
Thank you, Deepak. That was quite deep to go into different dimensions of emotional well-being as well and trying to solve problems. Thank you. A very similar question to Vikas. I was particularly intrigued by that slide where you put in the funnel and you also put in your core values, where you said find the positive, and I think you ended up by saying you truly care. Look at the problems. So again, from your perspective, what are the different dimensions that HR folks could possibly address, considering you're in the industry of selling happiness and it's completely experiential based, which means the employee's mindset also in an experience based company is slightly different from product based company because you're selling experience. So what do you think should be the mindset of HR folks? What values should they be demonstrating?
Okay, so one correction again, I think similar to what Deepak provided. In a way, we are also a technology company only. It's just that our solutions are geared towards travel and hospitality, right? My 70 or 60% team strength is your product managers, engineers, software engineers, and QA folks, and project management, and so on and so forth. However, it is really, really important that each and every employee in the organization understands the value proposition. And hence, the selling happiness is really, really critical for each one of them, right? A lot of people would work on analytics as a solution, but they need to understand that what each and every number means and how it gets translated in the world of, say, a hotelier or, say, a management company or anyone else in the entire food chain, right? So from our perspective, I think very similar to what Deepak suggested, what we did was we took a little bit deeper dive into, why an employee works for an organization, right? I do not know how many of you or would have remembered. I'm sure everyone is from HR fraternity. So you would understand what Maslow's hierarchy is. But at the end of the day, the very first, I think, recognition that each and every HR person should have is that employee is just not a billable resource. Employee is just not a cost center or a profit center. At the end of the day, an employee is a human being, and there are certain needs that employee has, right from basic survival needs to safety to, at the end of the day, there is a desire to be successful and to make a mark in the industry, right? And how do we align this in the new normal, right? And that was the very first exercise we did internally. And again, this is not the very first time we have done it. It's just that we had to revise this in the new times, right? From, say, providing job security, right? Everyone would be under pressure that, hey, we are in this vertical. What would we be losing our jobs or not, right? Right from having that fear to providing them career growth aspects, providing them success criteria, and at the end of the day, creating inspiration for them, providing meaning to the work that they are doing in the new normal was very, very critical. So that was the very first step we, from the HR perspective, had to do. And like I said, we had to go back to the basics, right from aligning our business goals to assessing our skills, and understanding what skills now work for the customers and hence for us. And from that perspective to how do we adapt, how do we create a culture, and how do we create an ecosystem, and at the end of the day, how do we now start hiring the right talent which will help us in the next say 6 months to 12 months to 18 months roadmap. So I think the entire funnel itself, I wouldn't say we created something new. I think all we had to do was going back to basics and revamp everything from scratch. whatever assumptions we took, we all had to take a look at those assumptions again and start everything and evaluating everything from ground to top. So I think that was what we did from the HR perspective. And I will highly encourage everyone who is in an HR space, whatever assumptions you've taken in the entire employee life cycle, the way Deepak presented, I think they need to be evaluated and checked against whether that works in the new normal or not. Today, my 100% of the organization is working from home. 100%. Not a single employee is going to office right now. We are not into critical services, and hence that works for us. However, how do we create and build culture in this environment? So, and this is something what we call as peak performance. This is not something we invented. So there is an author called Chip Conley. He is also one of our advisors and mentors of the organization. Very, very famous hotelier and a chief advisor to Airbnb, who helped Airbnb into scaling from a few 100,000 customers to almost a billion customers a year. And he is the one who created the entire peak performance as a principle, wherein what we have is on the left hand side, you see an employee pyramid, what we just saw before, money, recognition, and meaning to the life. Same way, how do we meet customer expectations? How do we meet their desires? And how do we meet their unrecognized needs, what they have not asked for, but still you deliver? And on the right hand side, we don't have any VC or any funding needed, fortunately, in the organization. But if you have similar stakeholders, how do we create that relationship with your investors, with your stakeholders in the organization? And at the end of the day, all of these pyramids, which are based on the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, how do we create unique culture which builds enthusiastic staff, which leads to strong customer loyalty, which leads to profitable business results? So this entire ecosystem of creating peak performance, we have to reevaluate and revitalize with a lot of different strategies. Whether now you talk about policy changes, whether you talk about engagement models, right from having kids on the Zoom calls, having a painting competition with the kids, having virtual coffee sessions. So that one-on-one touch that we had to create was really, really beneficial. And at the same time, I'll admit one thing. Are we 100% there? Absolutely by no means. This is still work in progress. So there is a lot that we have reinvented. Some of it has worked, some of it has not. And we are still reinventing ourselves. We are still adding and implementing a lot of new strategies, which we feel will help us going in the I would say new normal going forward. But yes, I think this was very, very interesting for us. If anyone is interested, please go and check out Chip Conley. There are a lot of TED Talks also available from him. So he's a very, very inspirational leader and a mentor for us.
Wonderful. Thank you, Vikas. That was very interesting to see Abraham Maslow's pyramid being integrated into a larger pyramid. It's probably the first time I'm actually coming across such an integration. I've either seen Abraham Maslow's theory in isolation or some other theory in isolation. I think many of us are saying this for the first time, the integration. And what was beautiful about this pyramid was how you are actually meeting the needs of different stakeholders in the organization, like your employees, customers. What particularly caught my mind was pride and ownership, the sense of pride, which translates into a sense of belongingness. I think that's very important for an organization, for an employee to have that sense of belongingness, that I belong to this organization, no matter what scenario is. So I'm just going to open this up to the audience, and you can type it in the chat box. Having heard from two experts from the industry, we heard about their redesigning strategies. We heard about their views on what HR should adopt. And since most of us are from the HR fraternity, maybe just a one-word answer. What are the values you are demonstrating to your employees right now? It could be empathy, it could even be sympathy. For example, it could be love, it could be kindness, anything.
I think
what values? Sorry?
I think for me, it's transparency.
Beautiful.
Trusting employees that they understand the business and making them part of the decision-making process is really, really crucial. Specifically, if you are a product company like me, we are not, services portion for us is very less. So product also gives us scalability. Today, we work with more than 2000 plus customers with such a small employee base. So that scalability aspect is very crucial for us.
Okay.
And if we really have to scale our business, you really have to be transparent with your employees, right?
Okay.
Everything else, I think falls in place once you are truthful to your employees. No matter what the situation is, even if it is bad, please convey it in the right fashion. Of course, being empathetic and being emotionally intelligent goes a long way. But for me, transparency is very, very crucial.
Thank you. We would also like to hear from the audience. So on in the chat box, if you can just type in what is that one value you have demonstrated, or what do you think is that one value or trait HR folks should demonstrate, that'll be nice to see your responses. So as you type your responses, I have a question for Deepak. So there's this old fable that goes this way, right? Where there's a new company that sells footwear, and they send one of their salesmen to one of the remote islands in Africa and say, can you find out if there's a market for us? So he goes there, he studies, and he comes back and says, nobody wears footwear there, so let's not go and open up shop and put up store there. So the company sends another salesman and says, you go and study that island. He studies the island and he comes back and he says, nobody wears footwear, which means if we go and put up shop, we would be the monopoly, we would be the market leaders there. So that's the right opportunity for us. Now, I'm drawing this analogy to the current situation where we've slowly started coming into the acceptance mindset of, okay, probably this is the new normal. In the new normal, in this COVID era, what do you think are the opportunities available for the industry and for people right now?
Okay, very, very, very interesting question. And in fact, whatever I'm answering to you and audience here, this is on practical hands-on experience with live examples. While Vikas is providing beautiful articulation of management language around it. So I think it's really coming out to be complementary to each other. I think, as I said earlier, it has come as an opportunity for those, and again, I come back to Formula One example, for those who want to grab it. So in our case, for example, as I said, we could put our head above the water. So these new deals and these new volumes from our existing clients started coming to us. So we were under pressure to how to execute them, and we've actually executed them well by staffing well, by innovative methods of doing work, by innovative methods of instead of paying employees for the hours, we say, okay, let's do pay per file. Those kind of models were implemented so that the productivity can go up, and with the same number of employees, we could satisfy our customers better. So, and the utilization of the employees went up, and they were happy because they were getting a share of it. So that's one example where while others were closing down shops, we started handling more volume and more deals came our way. And most of our clients are so happy about it that, SLK saved us. Otherwise, where would we have gone to do our work? Now, the other example, I would say that while some of the clients who allowed us to work from home, that's fantastic, but they were also data security concerns. So we gave them technology solutions to protect their data and prove it to them that their data is secured. And we actually developed a new solution. In the BFSI space, one of our technology partners were operating in telecom space. They never thought about that this solution could be worked in data security from work from home environment. We created their solution in 15 days time. We convinced the clients that with working from home also your data would be secured. And more importantly, now that solution has been developed as a product, and we are now going in the market and selling that as a solution. So these are various examples. And again, agility has been the speed and agility has been the essence of this. I'm sure a lot of other companies are coming out with such solutions, but we could bring that solution out in 15 to 30 days time. Now the product is ready as general availability, and we are going to sell it in the market. So that's an opportunity. So I think, as you rightly said about that shoe salesman example, we have seen a lot of opportunities coming our way, and not only us. I think there are a lot of organizations with the Formula One champion mindset. They will they will get such opportunity. They will treat COVID also as an opportunity.
I'm sure a lot of people after this panel discussion are going to remember the Formula One analogy for a very long time to come. You really brought it to a very different level from merely looking at it as a sport to taking it to a management lesson and at looking at decision making and creating opportunities. So, thank you. That was really interesting to hear your views on opportunities. A small diversified question for Vikas around the same topic. This is probably an era where people are going through extreme mindsets. Like I said initially, we would have planned, we would have SMEs, MSMEs, people starting of new businesses, and all of a sudden, there are breaks in their plan, and some people can view it as extreme failure, and for some people, it can be really tough situations. How do you view failure in such tough situations?
I think I am your second salesman who went to Africa.
That answers it all.
So I think there is just no other way to look at failure, opportunity. In fact, we uh, pride ourselves in saying that any leadership position we hire, we prefer that the person has come from a startup and has seen a failure, and more importantly has learned from it, right? Failure is not important, but the learning from it, adapting from it is even more important. So I think I see failure as an opportunity only, nothing else. And if you have any other mindset, I think I haven't seen any single human being who has not failed at all, right? Right from the top of the top, leaders in the world, everyone has seen failures, and all of them have adapted from those failures. I came across very interesting story 3 or 4 days back. So Starbucks, I'm sure everyone understands that they are now impacted due to COVID. What they have done is this year they have closed down their 400 stores. Now, after this COVID hit them, they started doing internal thinking and they started analyzing data. What they realized was that there's 70 to 80% of the audience, they preferred to just grab the coffee and go home or go to work. Their internalization was that they provided us very famous third place, either home between or after home and office. They used to provide that wow environment wherein there is free Wi-Fi and amazing crowd, and that's why people come to Starbucks. But when they saw the data, they saw that 80% audience did not even sit at Starbucks. They came there purely and purely for coffee. So how now they pivoted is they've done a tie-up with Uber Eats, and now they're going to deliver coffee at home. So, and this is actually going to increase their market share significantly. People who were having time constraints to come to Starbucks and grab a cup of coffee, now they can literally order it from Uber Eats or they can order it on grab and go basis. So now if you see this failure as an opportunity, then you can be very innovative and even expand your markets significantly. So I think if you see failure as any other way, I think you will not succeed in your life, or you will have a lot of stress in your mind, which is really not healthy. So I think there is just one way to look at failure, and that's opportunity, nothing else.
Very nicely said. What you said reminds me of the saying that says, when you hit the rock bottom, there's no other way but just to go up. You can't go down further.
Yes.
And somewhere corroborates what you said. Um, what was really interesting is you said your organization looks for people. I mean, if you have faith, especially in leadership positions, you want people who've embraced failure or who've gone through that phase to bring in that sort of emotional and mental maturity or balance to the organization. Reminds me of what Zappos says. Zappos as an organization, as you know, likes to recruit people who have the weirdness quotient in them. So probably the weirder you are, you have a better opportunity to get recruited by Zappos. So this is really interesting. Thank you, Vikas. Um, I'm moving on to Deepak now. So we spoke about failure, we spoke about uncertainty, stressful situations. So under these times, are there any tools for people to participate in a very holistic manner in decision making? Because we're going through a lot of uncertainty. How can we make decision making more participative and holistic?
So I think as a philosophy, our organization, and I think I would encourage people to download something put on chat windows about our uh, guiding principles, etc. We call them I bid hard. Uh, and I think the team is going to put a LinkedIn article also, which I wrote about this new normal work from anywhere. I think that might be interesting. For a lot of this discussion is getting summarized there. So if you could, it's a two-page article, so you might be finding it interesting. Uh, as a philosophy, we are a very entrepreneur culture company. So and we call it, and this is actually started by our promoter and my boss Gopal. I think he's a great leader, and this karta, we call it karta. So we give kartas to our leaders, and they take all the decisions. Of course, there are some guidelines around which we some outcomes are measured, but if they fail, they fail. And it's been a very inclusive style of management. Go ahead and take risks, take your risk and come back. And if we fail, that's fine. If we succeed, that's great for the company and all of us. In this specific COVID times, I think I said that example. We started this all hands uh, meet. Every day at 12 o'clock we used to meet, and that's where most of the complicated problems uh, in an inclusive manner. Everybody is allowed to give their point of view, agree or disagree. A lot of discussion happen, but if discussions are going longish, we'll say let's connect offline in a smaller group and solve the problem and come back and inform everybody. Uh, so I think that one particular practical experience, it actually helped us making decisions very fast and in an inclusive manner. If my idea is not accepted by the organization, it's okay. Somebody else's idea was better, but we discuss it together, thrash it out together, and go move ahead. So it takes care of inclusivity part of the decision making. Also, it takes care of the sustainability and agility part of it. So I think under COVID-19, while our culture, the long and short of it is our culture is an inclusive style of management with a lot of karta bhav, entrepreneur culture. Uh, but in this COVID time, I think if one uh, management style which helped us was that daily all hands meeting, which continued till around 3 weeks back. Now we have made it bi-weekly. So
I
that's
would like
been
to
one.
add one point. I think very interesting point was said by Deepak around ability to make mistakes and management accepting that as a culture is very, very crucial, right? Specifically when you are a leader managing like Deepak 4 5,000 people, you cannot be giving approvals to all 4 5,000 people, right? So having that culture of giving freedom to people to make mistakes, being acceptable to that, and I think having that culture itself speaks volume and is very, very crucial nowadays, wherein there are a lot of uncertainties. So it's better to, I think, ask for forgiveness rather than asking for a permission. So I think that goes a long way in terms of creating that culture you're referring to.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That was quite interesting in adopting the mindset. And like you said, adopting forgiveness. So I want you actually to add on, you did add on, but some more to add on to what Deepak said in terms of culture, because we probably set a very fixed organization culture. We probably had stand ups every day or we probably had project meetings every second day, or we probably had a culture of transparency. But having embraced the new normal, can you give us some examples of any culture transformational strategies that you've seen or you've adopted?
I think culture for me is a little bit elusive phenomena. People talk so loosely on the culture. I think there is a very famous saying from Peter Drucker that culture is strategy for breakfast. So no matter what amount of strategies you create, but if your culture is not right, you'll not be able to achieve your objectives. I think it's really important for all of us to understand what culture is. I don't think so I'm going to give the definition, but the way how I feel what the culture is, the employee and the customer both, the way they think about in their own mind about you as an organization, for me, that is culture, which is unfiltered thoughts. How do they think of you and how would they behave with you or without you in the room? For me, that is culture. And impacting that is significantly bigger impact than any other strategy you can have on the planet. For me, in terms of specific tactics, I think one thing we are working on, and I would say still struggling and still trying to achieve more on the front, is changing the mindset from deliveries or the project delivery or actions or tactics to outcome. Uh, let's say if I'm working for a very big client and we need to release their a product or say for the sake of simplicity, e-commerce portal. So releasing it does not achieve anything. What achieves anything is what is their objective, what is the outcome that the customer is expecting, that hey, I want my portal to be 10% more faster, I want that portal to be achieving 50% more revenue, xyz, any other outcome. So shifting the entire value system, entire evaluation, performance management from those tasks to the outcome of all the stakeholders, whether for that matter it's company's outcome or the client's outcome. So that shift for me has been working very effectively. Again, I would say we are not there 100%. It's still a working progress for us. But that mindset change, the way we used to define objectives, we used to call management by objectives. From that, we have shifted to the entire objectives and key results model. That for me has helped a lot in terms of creating that culture, which really kind of imbibes all three pyramids: that customer, employee, and all other stakeholders. For me, that change has really been very impactful. Although it has been a great struggle, I would say, but yes, it is very fulfilling, and I think it's a good working progress for us.
Uh, I would like to just add, I think Vikas made a very valid point. Uh, I think at SLK, what we actually encourage, while there is an organization culture, but one of our guiding principle is be bold. Um, you know, take decisions, dream big, and act fast. So this encourages people to give their point of views. And as I said earlier, there's no idea which can be bad or wrong. So everybody, and in our organization, we can speak very openly to each other, disagree with each other, and go ahead. So I think one of the culture, I would say there is nothing called this is, I have heard in earlier organization, this is that organization way, this is how we work, this is our culture. I think here I find at SLK that everybody is allowed to bring his own value system and around the guiding principle of the organization, and everybody's ideas are encouraged. That's, I think, makes it very multicultural, and everybody feels a part of the decision making process. So,
Thank you very much. Um, Culture and policies actually go together, isn't it? You have an organization culture and you've got the associated policies with it. And somewhere down the line, when your culture has to be more agile, then your policies might also need to be really agile. So this question is for Deepak. Considering that you work in a very high an organization that has a lot of compliance policies, considering the industry that you work in, how are you mitigating the risks from this kind of an environment where people are working from home or they're not centrally located? How are you mitigating these risks?
I think he's selling it as a product.
So I think I kind of answered part of it earlier. I think I will bucketize it into three categories, Sindhu. One is definitely a renewed awareness to the employees about a possible pitfall, a possible fraud that can happen without them realizing it, a data security breach they may not even realize. So I think when work from home happened, we uh, trained every employee once again on data security policy. We also did various training program. Our ESRG team, as we call it, they talk to them on a regular basis. We send our own phishing emails to see how many people are clicking them, and then educate them. Uh, so extra communication awareness. In fact, in the awareness part, we also included the communication saying this is data security, uh, data theft is a punishable criminal offense in all the countries. So that sensitization happened. That was one part of it. Uh, if you see, there are two aspects of data security in a work from home environment, and it's slightly technical. It is about logical or physical logical access, and it's about physical access. Logical accesses can be taken care of by various technology things, whether system hardening, VPN, Citrix, so other protocols. So I think logical security could be taken care of from work from home environment using various technology application and platforms available. The risk associated with physical security, because at home there is no physical security. And that's where, when I talked about new solution we came out with, we call it data masking solution, or it's still the names are being talked about. It's an absolutely new solution where with some distributed stuff, the operations, the processes got distributed, and we actually came out with a very powerful solution to give to mitigate the risk of physical security not being around from work from home. And that's where the new solution we are talking about, we are taking to the market. So combination of technology and awareness and communication is the answer. And I think this is a continuous journey, because the more you find solutions of this problem, there are people out there who find solution to how to break your data security wall. So this is a continuous journey, and we'll continue to be focusing on this area. Uh, and being touchwood, I think, thankfully, working from home so far for 4 months, 2,500 people, we have not got into any data security issues so far. Touchwood, it can happen anytime, but
That's fantastic.
I think we seem to have done well.
Great. Thank you so much. It's been such an interesting discussion. We've been talking about topics on what is new normal to both of you, different industries, how agile can organizations be, how cultural changes and transformation can take place, how do we mitigate risk, how do we perform under stress, how do we embrace failure as a lesson to learn and sculpt ourselves, and like you said, on compliance issues, looking for new opportunities. It's been a fantastic discussion. Thank you so much. I have one last question to both of you, maybe from your own words, because we've had a lot of people from the HR fraternity who basically deal with people, emotional, mental well-being, sometimes even spiritual well-being. I want some parting words from both of you. What is that one message you can give to people in the HR fraternity so that they can go and impact the people in the organization?
So probably I will begin, and I would say, I think one word which Vikas used earlier was transparency. That's a very important word. And I think the other word I would say is empathy, not sympathy. I think if we are able to do these two, uh, get into the shoes of the employee, understand the problem, it doesn't mean that all the problems you can solve, but at least empathize and then explain them that half of their problem we are able to solve, half of them not, and then go back to those four cornerstone, which is any organization is bound around, which is customer, which is employee, which is investor, and which is a community at large. And and if you explain the employee that your demand is fair, but this demand, affects the other part, probably the customer or probably the employer, uh, I think they do understand. So I would say transparency and empathy and sensitivity probably might be good words to go with.
Thank you. Transparency, empathy, and sensitivity. Quite profound. Thank you very much. Yes, Vikas.
So I think I believe Deepak has already covered the major portions. So I would just add one thing, that it's very important to have human to human connection. That's what HR is supposed to be. So as a tactic, I would suggest that please have one-on-ones with your people as frequently as possible. So for me, just talking to people solves 90% of the problems, and I think that creates the better culture and all other aspects. I think more often than not, what I believe is people just want to be heard, to be listened to. So I think that should keep on going, irrespective if you're working from home or not. So I would highly recommend to have that human to human connection with HR team, and again advising the same to all the leaders in the organization. Talk to your teams regularly. You might have a lot of bigger meetings, but do talk to them individually. That makes a world of difference for them.
Thank you very much. As we've embraced the virtual and online world, rather the digital world for every function of the organization, even the function of people, the human capital, the interaction that we do is also moved digitally and virtually. That's the reason why I asked both of you to give us answers for the last question. And I'm so glad you touched upon empathy, the human to human interaction, the touch, the sensitivity that we should be extending no matter what the barriers in real life world are. Reminds me of what Helen Keller said. Maybe those are my parting words, where she said the most beautiful things in life are those that cannot be seen or touched. They can only be felt with the heart. And I think that largely rests with all of us who are constantly in touch with people. It could be love, it could be faith, it could be sense of belonging, it could be pride, it could be security, it could be hope, it could be anything. But as long as we are catalysts to transform and touch people with the most beautiful feelings, I think we can be fairly happy that we are successful in our own roles as leaders, entrepreneurs, and working professionals. Thank you, Deepak. Thank you, Vikas. It's been an absolute pleasure interacting with you, learning from you, and lots to take home. I will never forget the Formula One analogy. I'm going to be probably doing some reading tonight on that. And thank you for that CRG framework. It was eye opening. Thank you very much. And I hope the audience had a good time learning, and you have something to take over tonight to your organizations and the people around.
Absolutely. Just one small thing. I think quite a few people have reached out to me on Zoom chat with some questions. I would encourage if they can connect me with on LinkedIn, and I'm happy to take that over there.
I think same would be for me, and you please feel free to connect, and whatever we could, uh, I would be able to respond. Yeah.
Thank you, Ms. Sindhu, for facilitating this discussion so well. Thank you, panel members, Mr. Deepak and Mr. Vikas. It has been indeed a pleasure being with all of you all today and had an insightful webinar. Thank you so much for taking up significant number of questions. Thanks for making this journey a memorable one. Before we conclude with this today, we would want to thank all the association for supporting HRAI event. First, Geisha IT Association. Geisha is the ICT window of Gujarat to the world and nurtures, fosters, and tracks the ICT industry of Gujarat. It is the only state level association for electronics, software, IT, ITES, BPO, KPO, LPO, telecom, ISP, networking, and IT education, which is recognized by the government of Gujarat. Federation of Gujarat Industries was founded in the year 1918. It is one of the oldest active socially conscious industrial association in the country. The Federation of Gujarat Industries aimed at promoting, protecting, and projecting the interests of industries and also catering to the needs of the community at large. NASSCOM CEO Gandhinagar, NASSCOM has announced by Prime Minister Narendra Modi in July 2015 as a part of Digital India initiative to jumpstart the IoT ecosystem, taking advantage of India's IT strength in the country. The Center of Excellence for IoT India at IIT Gandhinagar, Gujarat is a Digital India initiative to jumpstart the IoT ecosystem in India, taking advantage of India's IT strength and help country attain a leadership role in the convergent area of hardware and software. Bharat Nirman. Bharat Nirman was set up in early 1980 and was registered as a charitable and public utility organization on 9th June 1980. The main objective with which the society was set up was to revive all ancient Indian science and propagate India way of life, culture, and development. LMA Lucknow. Lucknow Management Association was formed as a local chapter of AIMA in 1976. Establishment of IIM at Lucknow in 1984 gave flip to LMA's endeavors in profiliation of management knowledge and taking the management movement forward. Thank you once again, dear panel members and our participants, for joining us today. Do join us for our next webinar on the 9th of July 2020, where we would have our panel addressing the new and the next steps, growth strategies for 2020 and beyond. Thank you all for joining us. We hereby conclude with this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you, dear participants. We can all now log off from this webinar. Thank you so much for attending.